But I mean, we'll have to see how things go this series. So I guess we could just move straight on to that. We've already kind of alluded to it. So the finals are set. Suns, Bucks. I believe. I think did Milwaukee have the better record, or no? Or is the Suns have
I
the home
think the
court
Suns did because they had the second best record in the West.
wise?
Milwaukee was like third in the East, and I have to imagine the West was better
Better
record
record
wise.
wise. But regardless, like we mentioned before, don't know the status of Giannis for at least game one. I think we know the Suns for the most part are all good to go. Um,
Suns do have home court
okay,
advantage.
so I know I praised the Bucks and they had and such, but I just think for the Bucks, it's been a little disappointing each series. It's with the Nets, it's like they should have taken care of business. It should have been easier, and a lot of flaws got exposed for them there. And the Hawks had a Trae Young got hurt, and that kind of helped them out. I know Giannis got hurt, but so yeah, I think, and I know who you're going with, and I'll still throw it to you, but I'm going with the Suns also. Now, honestly, I'm going with Suns in five. I want to say Suns in four, but Suns in five. Just like I said, team that's rolling. Chris Paul, and I know that they have the Bucks. I just praised Drew Holiday, but Chris Paul and Devin Booker. It's just I don't know how you guard both of them, and then they have Jae Crowder and Mikal Bridges to throw at Chris Middleton and maybe Giannis. And like I mentioned before, I am very concerned about the status of Giannis, even if he's not 100%. Especially if he's not 100%. I don't think they can win this series without a fully 100% Giannis. Um, and I know they have some solid bench players, but they're not playing the same way in confidence, at least at the level that the Phoenix Suns have been. I mean, Campaign's coming off providing double digits. Sarge is coming, is playing some just key buckets when it rains off the floor. And they still have guys like Torrey Craig too, another solid defender. If someone gets in foul trouble, they need more defense. So, yeah, I just feel like the Suns are more versatile and also just healthier. That's just unfortunately what it is. But I mean, it is what it is. And like I mentioned, just momentum's a real thing. And I think the Suns is just a real. They have a real championship vibe momentum that's going with them, and just the confidence with that too. So I got Suns in five. I really wanted to say Suns in four, but I feel like we might have a Chris Middleton game like we saw, where he's just on fire and can't miss. And maybe also in the same game, Booker's struggling. It happens. So Suns in five is my prediction. I'm assuming you're picking Suns, John, but you know, uh, how many games and what are your thoughts on this finals?
Yeah, I mean, I picked the Suns the whole way through. I'm sticking with them at this point. But I think it's gonna be more competitive. I think it probably goes seven. To be honest,
Okay,
I feel like I could
like
easily
I
see the
predicted.
Suns.
Apparently, like you see that tweet, like
Yeah,
someone
I did
predicted
see
back
the
in
tweet.
2016, but they picked the Bucks to win. So your
Yeah, they
prediction's
picked the
different.
Bucks to win, and it was like Game 7, and the Bucks win by like
123 to
7 points.
116. Yeah,
Yeah, which that's a pretty crazy tweet. Imagine if that happens. That'd be ridiculous. Somebody needs to give that man some money if that's right. I hope he bet on that.
it didn't.
Um, imagine I mean, I know that there wouldn't be any like anybody would give the odds, but imagine in 2016 if he was able to place a bet on that. Like
Yeah,
in 2021, this is
I
gonna
bet you
happen.
even
How
like
much
a
money he
dollar or $2 bet would have been a lot, just
Oh
because it's
yeah.
7 years in the future. By that time, at that time, the Suns, 2016, the Suns stunk. Remember that was the time where they were missing
They
on
were
draft picks.
terrible.
They were missing on Josh Jackson. Didn't have Alex Len at one point. They were missing on draft picks. Yeah,
They were terrible. And I don't even know where the Bucks really were in 2016. Like Giannis wasn't the MVP level yet. So
I think they're getting there though. I think they're like
I mean, he was,
low
but
playoff
didn't he
team.
win it like 2018, 20 or 2019 and 2020? Like those are the MVPs he won. So I
Uh,
mean, he was still a few years away from that. Regardless, I'm taking the Suns. I think it's gonna be 6 or 7 games. The reason is I could easily see the Suns taking the first two, especially if Giannis doesn't play. But I think that when Giannis does come back, the Bucks are just these teams are so stylistically opposite of each other that it's kind of crazy. Um, and I think that with the Brook Lopez game that we saw without Giannis, I have to hope that Mike Budenholzer understands that he has 2 7-footers in Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo versus DeAndre Ayton and Jae Crowder. Jae Crowder is 6'8". He is not big. Like, I mean, he's a good defender. He can get in your head, But we saw against the Lakers, like LeBron could have his way with Jae Crowder if he wanted. Anthony Davis could bully Jae Crowder if he wanted. Uh, Obviously, with the Nuggets and the Clippers, both of those teams sort of play more small ball ish, so he didn't have to really deal with that. But I mean, I think that if I had to bet on one team being able to stop the other, I bet more on the Bucks' ability to do that because I think they can throw Drew Holiday at Devin Booker. They can throw Chris Middleton at him. He's a really good defender. Um, so I mean, I plus with the defensive ability of Giannis, like he can just alter stuff. He can make life really hard. Obviously, I mean, if he's going to be guarding Jae Crowder, it's going to be tough because he can't leave him open. But when they have guys like Torrey Craig out there, he's going to be more willing to do that. Um, so it's going to be interesting. I still think the Suns are going to win because I think Chris Paul and his IQ and Devin Booker's scoring ability and Aiton's advantage in the paint, like I think that they can take advantage of all of those things. But the Bucks are they're so different than the Suns, the way they're built, that I think they have the recipe to make this really tough. Plus, I expect Chris Middleton to have a crazy series. I mean, I think Mikal Bridges is probably going to be the one guarding him, but Chris Middleton has just shown an ability against really good defenders to just do whatever he wants. So, yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be a crazy series. Honestly, I could see it going either way, but I'm taking the Suns. Like I said, I picked them every series so far, and they haven't let me down. So I'm going to stick with that.
All right, and I pull up 2016 Bucks. So they had Giannis. They had
Right.
Michael Beasley. He didn't play much, but they did have Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah.
That's when they had Thon Maker too and Jabari Parker. So that was
Yep.
still the Bucks team. They did have Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton only played 29 games, so that was a team. Yeah, it's much different time, which is crazy. It's only 5 years ago, but yeah, much different Bucks team than they are now. But I just it's hard for me to anticipate a good series because, like I said, I'm just worried. I just concerns about the Bucks and Giannis. So, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. I mean, if his health is a big issue, like that's the one caveat I have, because Giannis to me is the one thing that can really cause problems for the Suns, because I think at that point you probably have to try and put Aiton on him, but then Jae Crowder's guarding Brooke Lopez, so once again, I don't know if Budenholzer is going to take advantage of it, because honestly, I've been pretty disappointed in Budenholzer like the last 3 years. I thought that he was a really good hire when they first hired him, but I feel like there's just so many obvious changes that he doesn't make. So I don't know.
Yeah. Shoot, I was gonna say something else. Yeah. I
Also,
I don't imagine I imagine if anything they'll just sag off Giannis and make him shoot.
yeah,
Which
right.
like you mentioned though, like you gotta adjust off that mic, do something
Yeah,
with that. Like we mentioned before, with, I think with Ben Simmons, like, and how I mentioned that the Warriors were doing with Draymond, which is just set up screen, basically a handoff screen. If they're gonna sag off, it's a free screen, and maybe
right.
with Middleton, do some sort of action with that. But
But the Bucks don't do that.
they
That's
don't
the
do
thing.
that.
Like
Yeah,
I've never seen the Bucks do that.
yeah. So yeah, that's just my concern with them. But
I was gonna add too, real
mhm.
quick. Uh, in the Clippers series, which I mean, this is different because I imagine it's going to be Drew Holiday or Middleton on Devin Booker. But Patrick Beverley had some games where he actually had a lot of success against Devin Booker. Like
Yeah.
Booker had a few games there where he was not doing too hot. Obviously, Terrence Mann, Paul George, like they're playing small ball, so they could switch really easily on screens to just have anybody guard Booker. But I feel like there might be a few games here, like game 3, first game in Milwaukee. Maybe Giannis comes back, stuff like that, where maybe Booker doesn't have the best game. So that's another thing is I like Devin Booker a lot. I think he's an amazing player, but I still think that he's really young. It's still his first playoffs. There's just a lot of things that have indicated that although I think he's going to have a great series. I wouldn't be surprised if Milwaukee does take a game or two because they are able to have some success defensively against him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but I think that's where the Chris Paul, the veteran part, comes in. It's just that's where
I mean,
I'm not as concerned. Chris Paul may have a solid game. Campaign may put some points up. There's a game where Jay Crowder may be on fire too, and that's what I was getting back to. I think also concerns me for the Bucks is just they really haven't. This is gonna be their longest amount of rest in a while,
right.
and they've meanwhile the Suns, they finished their Denver series, they swept them, had a few extra days off. Unfortunately, for the way the scheduling worked, they had like two extra days off, or not even two. They finished their series a couple of days before the Bucks even finished theirs, so they had extra time to rest watch film, adjust. So I think that'll help. And obviously they opened it up in Phoenix too, so they don't even have to travel at all. They've been
Right.
sitting at home for a while, so I think that'll help. But that could also be a concern, rust. But I don't think it was a real concern because I didn't see that much rust at the start of the Clippers series. I don't imagine
Right.
it'll happen again here. So
Plus, you got to add that. I mean, Chris Paul, he even said that those 2 games that I think he had to miss for the COVID protocol, he said that that was basically just rest days for him.
yeah,
And I mean, he looked great. I will add, like, I mean, you just said, if Devin Booker does have a bad game, Chris Paul showed in game 6 he wanted it and he could put up a lot of points. And so if he does that again, that's tough because that's the one thing I'm not sure is, I guess maybe you throw Drew Holiday on him and then Chris Middleton on Booker, but like who's Pat Connaughton going to guard? He's not an
well,
amazing
and then
defender. He's not bad,
you know,
but
and it's the thing we don't talk about much. Like, if someone gets in foul trouble, once again, like who are they going to throw if one of those two get in foul
right,
trouble? That's what I mean.
right,
Like the Suns, okay, someone gets in foul trouble, one of their main defenders, they can't throw in Torrey Craig, which is funny enough, former Buck earlier this season. I don't know if you saw that. He's in the
yeah,
Anderson Varejao.
got to win a
Conundrum.
ring.
He's gonna get a ring regardless. So, but yeah. Also, topic of Phoenix, real quick. Shout out to our resident Phoenix fan, Kyle Wells. I'm sure he's having we know he's real excited about this. Just a great time for him too, because his Angels or at least Shohei's doing really well. So shout out my boy Shohei too, because I've been following the league, but we're sticking with basketball here. But I think that's where we're gonna cap this off.